I want you to picture a scenario for a second. It is a Tuesday morning.
Okay.
You are in Hillsboro, Oregon. You've got your coffee in the cup holder. The heater is fighting off that damp chill we all know and love.
Oh, yeah, the classic Oregon morning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're cruising down Tulip Valley Highway. Maybe you're heading to work or, just running errands. Traffic is doing that stop-and-go thing it loves to do.
Right.
And then, out of nowhere, crack.
Oh, man, that sound, it is the absolute worst.
It really is. It sounds like a gunshot went off inside the cabin. Your stomach drops. You look up, and there it is, the spider web.
Yeah. Or maybe just that nasty little star chip right in your line of sight.
Yes. And you just know that by tomorrow morning, that little chip is going to be a canyon stretching across the entire dashboard.
And immediately your brain switches gears. You stop thinking about your morning meeting and start thinking, how much is this going to hurt my bank account?
Exactly. It's that universal sinking feeling of unexpected car maintenance. And that is exactly what we are digging into today.
That's a great topic.
We are answering a very specific, very practical question for this deep dive. How much, on average, does it cost to replace a windshield in Hillsboro, Oregon?
It sounds like a simple question, doesn't it? You'd think there's just a price tag on the shelf.
You would think.
Mm-hmm.
But we've been poring over data and insights from Collision Auto Glass and Calibration. They're a local expert source right there in the area, and the answer is, well, it's complicated.
It's very complicated.
Because turns out we aren't really talking about glass anymore. We're talking about something else entirely.
That's the key right there. If
Yeah.
you still think a windshield is just a windshield, like literally just a piece of glass to keep bugs out of your teeth, you are living in the 1990s.
Right.
Today, that piece of glass is a structural component. It's a safety device, and honestly, it's a computer lens.
Okay, so before we get into the computer lens part, which sounds expensive, let's just rip the Band-Aid off.
Let's do it.
For the listeners sitting in their car right now, maybe staring at that crack, looking for a number.
Yeah.
What is the damage? Give us the high-level view.
The short answer. You are looking at a range between $200 and $800.
Wow. Okay, let's pause on that.
Yeah.
That is a massive spread. That is a $600 gap.
It is.
That's the difference between a nice dinner out for two and, I don't know, a monthly car payment for some people.
Yeah.
Why is the floor so low and the ceiling so high?
It really comes down to the fundamental identity of the car you are driving. The car dictates the price floor before you even pick up the thing to call a shop.
So let's break down these tiers. I want listeners to be able to self-diagnose where they land on this spectrum. Who gets off lucky? Who is paying the $200?
That is your standard vehicle tier. In Hillsboro, for a standard passenger car, think a 2010 sedan, maybe an older Honda Civic, or a basic work truck, you're looking at $200 to $400.
And what defines this tier? Is it just that the car is old?
Usually, yes. But more specifically, these are vehicles without complex sensors. They don't have cameras looking through the glass. They don't beep at you if you drift out of your lane. It is physically just a piece of laminated glass and some rubber molding.
So it's a commodity. It's just hardware.
Exactly. It keeps the rain out. It's straightforward to install. And the glass itself is relatively cheap to manufacture.
All right, so that's the baseline. What about the middle ground? Because I feel like a lot of people drive cars that aren't brand new, but aren't ancient either.
Right. That's the mid-range. That usually sits between $350 and $550.
What pushes a car into this bracket?
Usually it's minor tech integration. Maybe you have rain sensing wipers. You know, that feature where the wipers just magically know when to speed up?
I always wondered how that worked. I assume the sensor was in the wiper motor or something.
Nope. It's usually a sensor mounted right against the glass, often near the rearview mirror.
Oh.
Yeah. It detects the refraction of light through the raindrops. So when you replace the glass, you have to deal with that sensor. Or maybe the car has an acoustic inner layer to block out road noise.
Got it.
It's not fully autonomous tech, but there's enough embedded hardware that the labor is more intensive and the glass itself is more specialized.
Okay, and then we have the heavy hitters. A top tier.
The luxury and high-tech tier. This is where you are paying $500 to $800.
Ouch.
Yeah. We are talking about newer vehicles, luxury brands like BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Audi, but honestly, even a fully loaded Toyota or Ford from the last few years fits here.
And this is where we have to talk about that acronym I see all over the source material. ADIRS.
ADIS, Advanced Driver Assistance Systems.
It feels like you can't talk about windshields today without talking about ADIS. It seems to be the pivot point for the whole industry.
It absolutely is the pivot point. It has completely changed the business model of auto glass.
So for the non-engineers listening, what actually counts as ADAS? Is it just self-driving?
It's not just full self-driving. It's everything that helps the car perceive the world to keep you safe.
Okay.
Lane keep,
Hmm.
assist that nudges your steering wheel. That's ADS.
Right.
Automatic emergency braking when a pedestrian steps out. ADS, adaptive cruise control that slows you down on the freeway when the guy in front of you brakes. That is all ADS.
And the windshield is involved in all of that? I always assumed those sensors were in the bumper or the grille.
Some are, like the radar for cruise control is usually in the bumper. But the eyes of the system, the cameras that read speed limit signs, see lane markers, and spot pedestrians, those are almost always mounted inside the car.
Behind the mirror.
Exactly. Right behind the rearview mirror, pressing against the windshield. They look right through the glass.
Okay, I see where you're going. So
Yeah.
when I replace the windshield, I'm effectively putting a new lens in front of those cameras.
That is the perfect analogy. You are giving your car a corneal transplant.
A corneal transplant. I like that.
And this is why the cost jumps so high. It's not just that the glass itself is fancy, though it is. It's the hidden cost of calibration.
Calibration. The source material mentions this as the single biggest factor in price variance. Break that down for us. What are they actually doing?
Well, think about it. If you put a new piece of glass in and it sits just a fraction of a millimeter differently than the factory glass,
Yeah.
or if the optical clarity is slightly different, the camera's view is distorted.
Does a millimeter really matter, though? We're talking about a car, not a Swiss watch.
It matters hugely. Think about the geometry. A 1 millimeter error at the camera lens projected out over 100 yards of highway.
Oh, wow.
That could mean the car thinks the lane marker is 3 feet to the left of where it actually is.
So the car thinks it's centering you in the lane, but it's actually steering you into oncoming traffic.
Exactly. Or it might hallucinate. It might slam on the brakes because it thinks a shadow on the road is a solid object.
That is terrifying.
It is. So calibration is the process of electronically realigning those cameras to the new glass to ensure they see the world accurately.
And I'm guessing that process isn't free.
Not at all. According to the data from Collision Auto Glass, calibration adds between $150 to $300 to the bill.
Just for the calibration.
Just for that. So you're paying for the mechanic to be a computer engineer for an hour,
Right.
and you're paying for the equipment. The source notes that the targets and software required to do this properly can cost a shop upwards of $50,000.
50,000.
Yeah, this isn't a guy with a wrench anymore. It's a laboratory environment.
Now, the notes mention two types of calibration. Static and dynamic.
Yeah.
What's the difference to the car owner? Do I get to choose which one I want?
You usually don't get to choose. The car's manufacturer dictates it.
Okay.
Static calibration happens in the shop. They set up these very specific geometric patterns on board. They look like weird QR codes or checkerboards.
Oh, I think I've seen those.
Yeah, they're placed at exact distances and heights from the car. And the car essentially stares at them to recenter itself.
It sounds like an eye exam.
Hmm?
Like, read the chart on the wall.
That is exactly what it is. And then there is dynamic calibration. This involves the technician actually plugging a computer into your car and driving it out on the road.
Wait, just driving around the block?
No, it has to be very specific conditions. They have to drive at certain speeds on roads with clear lane markings, usually for a set amount of time.
Why?
So the system can learn the new glass while in motion. It self-adjusts based on real-world data.
So when you see a technician driving your car away after a windshield repair, they aren't joyriding. They are calibrating.
Precisely. And that takes time, which brings us to another reason for the cost labor hours.
Right. I remember the old days you'd drop the car off, go grab a sandwich, come back, and it's done. Is that still the case?
Yeah. If you have that standard vehicle, we talked about the dumb car, then yes. The process typically takes 60 to 90 minutes. They cut the old glass out, clean the frame, apply the glue, set the new glass, done.
But for the spaceship cars?
For the ADAS-equipped vehicles, you need to budget 2 to 3 hours.
That's a big chunk of the day.
It is. Remember, they have to do all that physical work, plus the static calibration setup, plus the test drive for dynamic calibration. It is a much more involved process.
Now, this leads to a question I think a lot of people have when they see that $800 quote.
How to make it cheaper.
Exactly. They immediately ask, can I get a cheaper part? You know, the generic brand. The source talks about OEM versus aftermarket glass. Is this a place where we can save money?
This is the classic OEM versus aftermarket debate. OEM stands for Original Equipment Manufacturer. That's the official glass, made by the same company that supplied the factory.
And aftermarket.
Aftermarket is made by third parties. It fits, it works, but it's a copy.
Is the copy bad? Or is it like buying generic ibuprofen? The same stuff, just a different box.
If you are in the standard or mid-range tier, driving a car without complex sensors aftermarket is a perfectly viable option.
Good to know.
Yeah, it saves you money, it keeps the wind out, it keeps you safe. It's totally like the generic ibuprofen.
But I'm guessing there's a coming for the high-tech cars.
There's a very big but. If you have a luxury vehicle or a car heavy on ADS, the experts strongly suggest, and sometimes the manufacturers actually require OEM glass.
Because of the corneal transplant issue.
Exactly. The sensors are tuned to look through a specific thickness and clarity of glass. Aftermarket glass might have slight waves or imperfections.
It looks the same to us, right?
To the human eye, you'd never see them. But a high-definition camera looking for a lane marker at 70 miles per hour, it might struggle.
So you save $100 on the glass, but your automatic braking system develops cataracts.
That is a vivid way to put it, but yes, skimping on the glass could mean blinding your car's safety features. You have to ask yourself, is it worth saving $100 if your car fails to brake when it needs to?
Put that way, definitely not. Okay, I want to shift gears to something that really surprised me in the research. We talked about the time it takes to do the work, but there is another time factor here, the cure time.
Oh, this is huge. And it's so often overlooked by customers who are in a rush.
I think most people assume the windshield is held in by clips or screws, or that the glue is like super glue and just instant dry.
It is definitely not instant. The windshield is bonded to the frame of the car with urethane adhesive. It's a chemical bond.
Okay.
When that fresh glass is set, that glue is wet. It needs time to polymerize, to harden into a rubber-like seal that truly integrates the glass into the car's body.
And then the source says this takes how long?
1 hour is the absolute minimum for the advanced urethanes used by pros like Collision Auto Glass. But really, 2 to 3 hours is the prudent recommendation.
Why is that wait so important? What happens if I get impatient, jump in my car after 20 minutes, and drive onto the Sunset Highway?
Well, 2 things. First, you might shift the glass.
Shift it.
Yeah. If you hit a pothole or even just slam the door with the windows up, the air pressure change inside the cabin can actually push the uncured glass outward, breaking the seal. Now you have a leak.
Nobody wants a leaky windshield in Oregon.
Definitely not. But the second thing is catastrophic. We have to remember the windshield isn't just a window. It provides up to 30% of a vehicle's structural integrity in a rollover accident.
30%, that is huge.
It is massive. It literally keeps the roof from crushing you. And even in a standard front-end collision, your passenger airbag relies on the windshield.
Wait, how does the airbag rely on the glass?
When the passenger airbag deploys, it shoots upward first. It hits the windshield and bounces off it to cushion the passenger.
Wow.
The windshield acts as the backboard.
I see. So if the glue isn't dry...
If the adhesive is still wet, the explosive force of the airbag could literally punch the windshield out of the frame, and then the airbag deploys out the window into the street instead of protecting the person in the seat.
That is a terrifying image. So the windshield is basically the only thing standing between the passenger and the dashboard in that split second.
Exactly. So when the shop tells you, hey, go grab lunch, come back in 2 hours, they aren't just trying to manage their schedule. They are ensuring your safety page is actually a cage.
That completely changes how I view the wait time. I'd happily wait 3 hours knowing that. Now, speaking of leaks and glue, we have to talk about the Oregon factor.
Let's do it.
We are in Hillsboro. It rains, it gets cold. Does that affect this process?
It plays a huge role. Urethane adhesive is finicky. It cures by reacting with humidity and temperature. If it's too cold, the chemical reaction slows down to a crawl.
And if it rains?
If it's pouring rain, water can contaminate the bonding surface.
So water is the enemy of a good seal.
Water on the metal frame, they call it the pinch weld, is a disaster. It prevents the bond from forming and eventually causes rust. And if your frame rusts under the glass, you have a major structural failure waiting to happen.
This brings up the topic of mobile service. You see those vans driving around offering to fix your glass in your office parking lot. It sounds super convenient. But given what you just said...
It's not necessarily a bad idea, but you have to be smart about it. The local wisdom from Collision Auto Glass suggests that unless you have proper shelter, like a garage or a covered carport, relying on mobile service in the pouring rain or freezing cold is risky.
Because you can't control the environment.
Right. Professional shops use climate-controlled environments. They keep the humidity and temperature in the Goldilocks zone so the adhesive works perfectly every time.
Makes sense.
If you're getting it done in a parking lot in February in Hillsboro, you're rolling the dice with that chemical bond.
That makes total sense. So if I'm in Hillsboro and it's raining sideways, I should probably take it into the shop.
That would definitely be the prudent choice. Don't compromise the structural bond of your car just to save a trip across town.
Okay, we've talked about the tech, the glue, the danger, and the rain. Let's talk about the thing everyone is stressed about, payment. We established that $800 is a lot of money. Is there any relief here?
Fortunately, yes. This is where insurance steps in. Listeners should know that many comprehensive insurance policies cover windshield replacement.
And what's the typical deductible for something like that?
Often, it is minimal or even zero. Glass coverage is frequently treated differently than a collision claim.
That is a relief. Because I feel like insurance companies usually fight you on everything. Do they fight you on the calibration cost? Do I have to argue that my car needs the fancy repair?
Usually, no. Insurance companies actually want you to fix your windshield
Why?
because they know that a cracked windshield impairs visibility and weakens the safety structure, which leads to bigger, more expensive accidents later, so they incentivize you to fix it correctly.
But dealing with the paperwork, that's always a headache.
This is another benefit of going to a professional shop like the source we are using today. They often handle the claim processing and direct billing.
So they talk to the insurance company for you.
Yes, they know the billing codes, they know how to explain why the calibration is necessary. They can potentially save the customer hundreds of dollars just by navigating that bureaucracy.
That is a huge pro tip. Don't just pay cash. Check the policy first.
Always check the policy first.
And what about warranties?
Yeah.
If I pay all this money and the thing leaks next week because of the Oregon rain, am I out of luck?
You shouldn't be. You should always look for warranty coverage on materials and labor.
What's the standard warranty look like?
The standard ranges from 12 months up to a lifetime warranty, depending on the provider. It gives you recourse if the installation wasn't perfect.
So let's bring this all back home. We started with a crack in the windshield in Hillsboro, and we've learned that a windshield isn't just glass anymore.
No, it's a structural, technological component.
Right. If you are driving a modern car in Hillsboro, you need to adjust your expectations. You're likely looking at that $500 to $800 range, not because the glass is made of diamonds, but because the service now includes computer engineering.
Exactly. And because you are paying for the safety of proper calibration and the structural integrity of your vehicle in a crash.
It really does shift your perspective. I'll never look at a windshield the same way again. It's hardworking glass.
It certainly is. And if I can leave you with one final thought,
Please do. Here's where it gets really interesting.
think about the trajectory of automotive technology. As cars become more autonomous, as we move towards self-driving vehicles, our relationship with the windshield flips.
So,
For 100 years, we have looked through the windshield to see the world. But now we are starting to rely on the windshield to look for us.
that is deep.
If that piece of glass is slightly off, your car is effectively driving with bad vision. It's like giving a pilot blurry glasses.
Huh.
So the question is saving $100 on a cheaper install worth blinding your co-pilot?
Wow, that is a provocative thought to end on. Treat your car's eyes as well as you treat your own.
Absolutely.
Well, there you have it. Before you get that next quote, check your ADS status, check your insurance, and maybe check the weather forecast if you're booking a mobile van.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive into the surprisingly complex world of windshield replacement. Drive safe, Hillsboro.
Safe driving, everyone!